All right, welcome back to the Fat2Fit Show, and bringing back the soon-to-be famous Matthew, owner of West Shore Web. But we're here to talk about your incredible transformation journey that, correct me if I'm wrong, started back on December 19th of 2024, just
Correct.
8 months ago. I got the facts right so far?
Yes, you do.
And just some highlights so you can pay attention, because this man is going to share with you the process that has got him down since December 19th, 116 pounds, and only 5 of that was muscle, meaning he held on to his muscle mass, which is the most critical component of effective weight loss because it keeps your metabolism up, versus if you just crash diet, you typically lose 25 to 30% of your muscle mass and the metabolism that goes with it. So also pointing out on something your doctor is probably doing backflips about, an A1C. Those of you who don't know what A1C is, it's like your health marker for blood sugar, and anything over 5.7 and higher is pre-diabetic, and 6.5 and higher is diabetic type 2. And Matthew's was 9.0. And on your most recent labs, what was your A1C you shared with me?
4.6.
4.6, which is lower than mine. And mine is really healthy. So that's just an incredible transformation. And it really proves what's possible when you have the motivation, the desire, the process, and you put it all together. So that's what we're really going to dive into today. And thanks for joining me again. And if you haven't seen our previous episodes when he first got started, you can check those out on our YouTube channel, TrYumph Nation TV. So Matthew, take us back 8 months ago. What was it like for you to be existing 116 pounds heavier and with that 9.0 A1C? What was that like now that you're kind of looking back?
It was heavier. I didn't know how unhealthy I was. I just kind of tried to live life the same way, and I just thought I was always supposed to be tired. I thought I was always supposed to be sweating every time I do little things here and there outside. To me, it was regular life. I'd been that way for almost 10 years. So it seemed like regular life, but man, what a different perspective I have now. Every single day is different.
Did you have to have like extra shirts in your car when you're going out to customer jobs?
I didn't care enough. If I had to sweat a lot, I'd make sure I wore my business shirts were always black, because everything I wore was black, because I was hiding as much size as I could. So
speaking of size, show those pictures just for the audience's benefit, and just kind of, it's just a face shot, but when you can see transformation in the face, you can only imagine. That's the before, and if you don't mind me saying, pretty sickly looking.
Let's go that way.
There is the suave headshot.
Yeah.
That's not even professional, but it looks professional.
And that was just a selfie.
Information. That's just the face, and I get to see Matthew not full body naked, but we see him come to the gym to work out and see the rest of him, and it's equally impressive. But share with the audience, what was the moment or event that made you say enough is enough? Like, how did this all get started for you?
It was basically being asked, when the last time I had my labs done, and it was kind of like, well, it's been 10 years, so please, I was begged, please, let's get your labs. Let's take a look at it. Cause I'm pretty sure you're going to be diabetic. And sure enough, when we went over the labs and we looked at it, it was a light switch moment for me to basically say, okay, you've done a lot of damage, but the damage is continuing because your body continues to pump this sugar through your body, and you're just going to get more unhealthy every minute that heart pumps. So it was Hesed Health that begged me to come in and get those lab tests done. And she said, you know what, we can turn this around, but it's going to take some hard work. You're going to have to follow proper nutrition, clean nutrition, and you're going to need to get in the gym. And you need to seek out the right professionals to figure out how to make sure that your metabolism can maintain this after we're done, with every other protocol. And that's when I got to reach out, and I found you. I found you online and connected with you through. It was probably through Facebook, or your website, and then Facebook, I think. But did my consultation, and I was like, "Yep, let me give it a shot." So I came on in, and I've been a 3 times a week member. A very, very happy person to let everybody know that TrYumph is an amazing place to be able to not only find out what you need to do to stay healthy, but the whole entire group of both trainers and all the people that go there are part of my daily motivation, my weekly motivation to continue. So I'm pretty happy with the results so far, because I'm not stopping.
Yeah, and we'll get into that. And was there something, Sarah, during some point in that consultation that just lit a fire under you, or literally scared the fat off of you going forward?
It was basically her explaining to me how unhealthy what I was doing really was, and the
What the
damage
consequences
that
of that would be if you didn't make
every single system in my body was being affected by being diabetic. And I didn't want to go blind. I didn't want to lose my kidneys. I didn't want to, I didn't want my pancreas to give up. I wanted to keep all my toes, my fingers, my feet, my arms. I wanted to keep all that stuff. And I've got a lot of kids, so I got a big family that's dependent on me to make the right decisions. And it was a moment that I took a professional's opinion that I could tell was all about caring for my actual health. And I said, okay, well, I trust her. I'm going to trust her advice. And I did the same with you. I trusted your functional health advice. And here I am, because I'll follow the plan. That's the kind of person I am. I'll go all in. And it just proves.
Yeah, let's take a step back and, going back to December 19th and forward, after those conversations, what were the very first changes you made when you started this journey, either with the nutrition, exercise, mindset?
It was the first day was nutrition. The first, like I went to that appointment with her after stopping at Chick-fil-A, got myself a breakfast burrito, like I always enjoyed doing it, covered it in sauce, enjoyed it with some potatoes, and I enjoyed that before I went to that very first lab reading with her. And as soon as she read it to me and gave me the plan, I haven't been back since. So I've put down 100% of processed food, protein forward, lean protein, as much as possible, even like chuck steaks. Just staying away from seed oil, staying away from processed food, staying away from anything at all other than the best quality nutrition that I can. And she also put me on a 16/8 fasting window to help repair my insulin resistance. And I'm a very big proponent of that now, that if your insulin's pumping, good luck. You're not gonna be able to do a whole lot of fat burning whatsoever. So
yeah, a lot of people, we're talking about type 2 diabetes, which estimated over 80% of the population is somewhere on the spectrum of insulin resistant, like Matthew said, or full blown type 2 diabetes, where they actually have to take insulin shots. That's the spectrum. And the longer you go as either pre-diabetic or diabetic, little problems will eventually become big problems. And Matthew mentioned some of them: neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy, where you lose circulation and feeling in the feet. And then that can lead to wounds that don't heal, and gangrene, and toe amputations and foot amputations. You see people maybe at the grocery store they have the stockings on because they don't have any circulation in their feet. Retinopathy, that's where you can lose vision. And then your kidney or your pancreas can eventually can't make enough insulin because you're so insulin resistant. Kidney failure, NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, like basically system by system in your body, and horrible brain function, brain fog, memory, short-term, accelerating your risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. Like these are what I'm assuming Sarah was communicating to you. And most people, and we're all guilty of this, myself included, we're just kind of in the status quo. Hey, I got through the day, I must be okay. But if we keep on that same path, eventually, like I said, those small problems can become big problems. And it's way easier to prevent a problem before it happens than once the problem happens, like, and your foot gets lopped off, you're not growing that foot back.
Yep.
So I always commend you and everybody else that makes decisions to, implement the actions in their life that are going to really yield the health benefits you're already experiencing. That's what's so cool, is the body is so capable of healing itself, reversing disease. And, we can't quantify it, but based on actuarial data from the insurance industry, it's easy to say you've added 5 to 7 to maybe even 9 extra years of functional life to be that dad for your tribe of kids and your wife being her husband and running your business. So kudos to you. And, you mentioned nutrition was kind of the first step or first intervention. And just for the audience benefit, Matthew is one of those rare people that could go cold turkey, essentially, with his nutrition. Like you said, giving up processed foods and drive-thrus and all the things. Now, you can still do okay at restaurants. You just have to be very calculated. And we'll get into that, too, because a lot of people say, oh, I live at restaurants. It's just I'm not willing to give that up. And a lot of my clients still are very successful, and I know you frequent some of the restaurants that we'll give out shout outs to, and eat and stay healthy even when restaurants are part of it. Restaurants aren't the villain. You just have to make smart choices when you're there.
Yep.
But before we get into that, we talk nutrition and essentially, the magic pill when it comes to nutrition is eliminating processed foods. And if you do that, regardless of what way you slice your nutrition, from carnivore to keto to Mediterranean, that diet's going to look a whole lot better, a whole lot healthier. And more often than not, it's going to control calories to an appropriate level that creates weight loss if you're overweight, or weight maintenance if you're at your right weight. But now let's get into the next step, which you briefly talked about, exercise. What role would you say exercise played in your transformation? And what kind of workouts do you feel work best for you?
Well, the working out has been the harder item to schedule, but probably one of the best reasons why the motivation continues, because it amplifies every single effort. If I'm going to be eating right, all I got to do is just show up. And the HIIT training, the group training that you guys have there, those sessions I do twice a week are probably the best motivation for me to make it in for my third appointment, which is my personal training. So I get to show up to a group of people that are welcoming and encouraging and motivating, and they've got to see the transformation, firsthand, twice a week. So I didn't think I'd ever enjoy a group training. I always figured, I'm kind of, to myself, I don't really want to be around people while I'm working out. I'm putting in all the efforts. Yeah, I'm making all kinds of silly faces because I'm putting all the effort I got into it. But the group training really, really is something that I keep telling people is just, if you haven't tried it, get out there and give it a shot. So the high intensity training allows me to be able to exert everything and rest. and exert everything and rest. And, and just because you don't feel like you're going to be able to complete the entire circuit, it doesn't matter. You do your very best. It's almost like during my weight training, working out to exhaustion. Well, it's the same thing. You do all you can, and then you show up the next day, and you do it. I do mine on Mondays and Wednesdays now. I get there nice and early because it's kind of my new favorite thing to do is get in there. I don't want to miss any workouts because now that I'm down the weight I am, I can see the results. I can see my arms getting stronger. I can see my upper body getting stronger. And the motivation of actually being able to see progress from the work that you're putting in is one thing when it's nutrition. But man, as soon as you start seeing the actual work you're putting in when it comes down to working out, it's my new favorite, Matt.
Now, when you were getting started, were you like in sick shape? Were you just jumped right in? Or I've asked that kind of tongue in cheek, but because a lot of people are afraid, I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm gonna hurt myself. I'm gonna embarrass myself. Everybody's gonna be looking at me. These are the normal fears that people use as excuses to prevent them from making that decision for change. What would you say to those people? Because you were 300 and what was the weight again? 350 pounds. I'm sure you were obviously self-conscious, and that's a lot of weight to move around. And yet you survived with our style of training.
I did.
And
I started making some choices when it came down to, I was outside running every time because I wanted to be able to run. I wanted to be able to feel normal when everybody else was doing things at my size. And y'all had to back me off a little bit and be like, hey, I need you to do a modified because we're paying attention to making sure you don't get injured. So there was some time that I had to decide that, okay, I'm not going to go outside and run, even though I was giving it my all, my knees weren't happy with me. So, little stuff like that. But here I am now, I'm able to run. I'm actually playing softball now and, I can run the bases and, I'm not going to hurt myself. So it was embarrassing to show up, but at the same time, I didn't have the mentality that I was that heavy. So it still took me a while, and it wasn't until I lost enough weight that I realized.
Did you feel judged, or did you feel? Was it more in your head than when you actually got there compared to what the reality was?
The motivation when I showed up, the motivation from those people, from the trainers, from even all the people working out, there is no judging. It is. We're proud to see you here, and regardless if I did less than anybody else. They treated me as if I just climbed the mountain. So it was a
lot
incredible.
Of people think, everybody's gonna be watching me, and the reality is, and I just kind of realized this on Monday during our Labor Day workout. My wife was there, and I was like, "Oh, this will be fun. We'll be working out together." And going through that whole workout, I don't even remember her being there, and that's my wife because you just kind of get in your own little world. And just trying to get through it. And everybody's kind of in that same boat. And I think once people experience that and realize nobody's watching them other than the coaches who are there to assist and help and encourage, it eliminates that fear, hopefully on the first workout. Would you say that's fair?
It does. Yep.
All right, cool.
Yep.
And that's what you said. We want our clients, we know, this is a lifelong journey. So we play the long game, and we want to make sure people, don't go too hard, too fast, and then they get injured or they get too sore, and then they're just like, oh, that's not worth it. The pain's too much. So we try to help people pace themselves for the long haul, and that's called progression. And a lot of people call our style of training HIIT, but it's actually metabolic volume training. And that's just the term I came up with to describe it. It's basically using more volume of sets and reps at lower overall weight, so you're less likely to hurt yourself, but in a circuit fashion that promotes cardiovascular benefits, meaning your heart's going to get stronger, you get more cardiovascular fit, you get stronger, reduce the risk of injury, and we use a heart rate monitoring technology kind of make sure you don't overdo it and don't underdo it. So what's your experience been with the MyZone system that we use, and how would you say that's played a role in your training and safety?
I'm an analytic guy. I like to see all the data, and I've noticed that the heart rate does not go into the red like it used to. Really got to push it to get it into the red. But when I first started, it was in the red pretty much the entire time. So, being able to keep an eye on that and see it on the screens while you're working out and the coaches are paying attention to it gives you that more comfort of, okay, I'm going to give it my all, and, there's been a couple times where, I've had to slow down a little bit because it's been pretty tight, when it comes down to 100%. And, but it's hard to get it there now, which is very interesting to me because I'm seeing the data. I wear an Apple Watch, so I get to see the MyZone information on my watch while I'm working out. I actually earned a few MEPs this morning. I strapped on my heart monitor and I did a walk. I walked over the bridge and walked down past Salt Rock and walked back over the bridge again. And I only stayed in the green. I'm looking at 65 as I'm pretty good trucking, walking, and it's a far cry from where I was, but
Right.
Sure does feel good.
That's cool. So let's get into some of the psychology. We all deal with challenges in life, and to lose as much weight as you have, and for you a relatively short amount of time, what you've accomplished in 8 months, I would suggest for most people would take a year to a year and a half. So push that aside. But even so, your results were really coming fast. I'm sure there were challenges that were thrown at you along the way. Can you share one or two of those challenges that you experienced, and then maybe how you worked through them or how you got support to work through those?
Most of it's just the extra time involved in cooking my food and making sure that I've got my appointments at the gym and my personal training and making sure that, I'm able to show up. I've recently adjusted that, simply because, I can get up earlier. Part of this whole plan has been prioritizing sleep as well, so that I can make sure that all my efforts, like you said, I'm probably not your ordinary average person that just, does most things. I'm doing 100% and I'm trying to find the extra 5, where I can get more effect. So, the sleep patterns, making sure I'm in bed by 9 o'clock at night means I'm up early. So if I'm going to be up early, I'm going to jump into your earlier classes, and that kind of adjusted. I was getting phone calls at, all my 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30 appointments. I'm getting phone calls from people because I'm used to working for the last 28 years for these customers, and they're used to being able to call me in the morning. But if I'm getting interrupted at at my workouts, then here I am. Just adjusting that. So they're not calling me at 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. So I'm going to go in early, and I got to meet a whole new group of people that that are another motivation factor of a new group that likes to work out earlier, and it's just it's pretty neat.
Yeah, and I think that is a good example of, you came to me in January and I said, jump in the 5:30 a.m. workouts. That might have been a recipe for failure because you weren't equipped at that point, versus getting into, something that was realistic at the time, and then allowing that natural progression to happen so that you were successful in the beginning. And now you're able to do
chasing
that.
It.
Yeah, you're chasing it, and you're obviously have more productivity during the day. But just so everybody knows, because I always say, there's, I don't know how many, 267 hours in a week, I think. But the exercise, at least with TrYumph, we're talking about 3 hours per week. So that's a pretty small slice that's giving you lots of benefits. How much time would you say you spend on shopping and food prep?
I've kind of really cut it down. Like I'm a very basic person when it comes down to, I don't mind eating the same thing on a regular basis. So I've got this system of buying giant chuck steaks over at Sam's Club. I'll butcher them up. I'll put them into individual bags and freeze them, and I'll throw them into the air fryer. It takes 11 minutes in the air fryer from frozen, and I can eat within 11 minutes of whenever I'm at. So I'm busy doing other things while I'm getting that stuff ready. Just recently, I added eggs back in because I wasn't eating any eggs either. It was just mainly keto carnivore. So now with the eggs, I'll add 3 or 4 eggs here and there for meals to, I'm still trying to get 200 grams of protein in every day, which has been, it's been a little extra for me because I'm still taking the Manjaro. I haven't gone up in my doses on that at all. In fact, I'm looking forward to kind of coming down off. I'm only on the second dose, the second dose schedule. So I'm looking actually to go back to the first dose schedule and then probably by the end of the year be off of that completely. Getting the protein in is the tough thing for me. So just making sure that I can prioritize my eating between, sometimes noon to 8, sometimes 2 to 8, so I do a 6 or 8 hour window. The time frame in order to be able to cook and clean up is minimal for me. But I'm also stopping for lunch. One of my favorite spots is Sushi and Soy because they've got a sashimi lunch that I can get that has nothing off of my diet. I can enjoy it. It's good protein. It's quick. So it's just like you'll find the time when you make it your priority. And I've made it my priority. And while I've made it my priority, I've also fine-tuned the process to be able to make it less and less time. And I'm so happy with the results. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I'm just fueling my body with what it needs, and my body's responding in a way that is positive to my workouts. It's positive to my goals, and I'm watching my health markers change.
Yeah, and I would argue even, if you factor in the time it takes you to go buy the stuff and cut it up and then cook it, and compared that to the time it would take you to get in your car, go sit in the drive-through line, especially if it's Chick-fil-A.
Right. Right.
Get it, and then hopefully not eat it in your car. But I know a lot of people do that just because, it's their food environment, it's their sanctuary. But then assuming you drove back home or drove somewhere to an office and compare those two, I bet you're on the plus side of time savings doing it the way you're doing it now. So just from a time commitment, a lot of people say, I don't have the time to be healthy. But if you really budget time and do the analysis, when I do this for people, usually saves them time. But it's kind of hard to see that when you're in the outside looking in. But, just from what you just said, I would say at the very least you're breaking even, but doing things incredibly healthy or healthy. Health promoting for yourself.
Well, I think my actual food costs have come down, even though I'm prioritizing eating higher quality nutrition, but man, I'm not stopping at Dunkin' Donuts and getting a $7 coffee, frozen coffee. I'm not getting the fast food. I haven't had any fast food, nothing for those 8 months, not a single bite of anything, no stopping by anywhere. It's just nothing but whole, good nutrition.
Yeah, well, let's talk support now. And just to recap, like we went over his protocols in the first 2 episodes. So if you are interested in exactly what he's doing from TRT to tirzepatide, these are all tools that I believe as a coach you can leverage to turn off, as in Matthew's words, the food noise to help. Because willpower, especially with stress, can be hard, the hardest piece. And if you can turn off the food noise, to use your word, that just makes the earlier process for that transition more likely to happen. So I'd rather somebody, use a GLP-1 mimetic than, an amphetamine. That used to be the medical weight loss diets with phentermine. That a lot of doctor assisted weight loss. But even downstream, and this jury's way still out on this, but, even if you had to microdose to sustain that food noise at whatever level. A lot of these GLP-1s are being studied now for geroprotection, which is kind of longevity, brain health, digestive health. So who knows what's going to play out with that. But the fact of the matter is, just from your A1C alone, and I'm sure your blood pressure is radically different.
Perfect. It's perfect.
Like, regardless of whatever else is happening, just that alone is extending your lifespan. So, that's just got to feel really good.
It does.
And I'm happy for you. That's getting to be, a small part of people's journeys is big. And that gets into my next question for you. And you've alluded to this in the beginning, but do you have, would you say you had coaches, family, your doctor that supported you along the way, and how important was that support in your success?
I've made it a really public situation. My getting back to health is something I'm usually a private person, and I've made it something that I've posted on social media. My doctors, they get the whole truth. They get everything I do. I give access to my constant glucose monitor to my doctor. They can monitor exactly how I'm doing. I got nothing to hide. So the relationship I've had with so I've got a primary care doctor that I go to for anything that has to be covered by insurance. And she has told me that nobody comes back from a 9.0 A1C and comes back with a 4.6. She said, you're doing things exactly the way you're supposed to in order to be able to do things that I haven't been able to see in 15 years. So being able to analytically look at this and follow all the rules, follow all the plans, do exactly what I'm being told to do, and never stepping away from it has been a really neat part of this for me. So, the support that I get back from comments from her, comments from Sarah, comments from my family, my kids, my wife, all the people, social media, when I post something about, my successes or, a place that I went to eat and it was really good, and people are messaging me privately and being like, I can't believe that you're able to eat good food like that. And you look incredible. And it's like, well, they wouldn't have that mentality if I wasn't being pretty transparent about it. But that's really helped my motivation. It's really helped my ability to stick to things because, I don't want to let anybody down, including myself, especially my kids, especially my wife. But, putting it all out there, the encouragement I get from everybody is another amplifying factor, just like all the tools to get it done. Making sure that people that surround you are not only professional, know what they're talking about, but when you trust them and they can tell you feedback back based on what you're doing, it feels more than good. It's more than reassuring. It's the motivation factor that I think a lot of people are missing out on when they don't include the right people in their circle when it comes down to making big changes. And it's kind of what I felt like. I'm making big changes, but I'm not hiding it. I'm not gonna act like it was any one certain thing. It's all the effort and it's all the time. It's just deciding to make that choice and saying, okay, well, this is my choice and I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to be a different person in the morning than I am at night. I'm not going to snack at night because, I was good in the morning. It's just stick to the plan and just get used to the plan. And once you're used to it, people start noticing. They start seeing the stuff. And even if I don't see it in the mirror, people are pointing it out to me, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, you're right. And so people's encouragement is in many, many different aspects, and it's all really beneficial.
Yeah. And this, at least for our generation, where social media can be part of the problem, but it can also be part of the solution. And
Correct.
I think the author of the most credible book on forming habits shared the psychology of, I call it putting it out there. When you put something out there, you're committing to the world that you're on this journey. And in a lot of ways, I believe human nature is good and people are going to want to be supportive. You're going to get the people that will try to knock you down because maybe they're jealous or you're doing something that they don't feel capable of doing. So they're going to try to knock you down. So you're going to deal with some of those naysayers. But for the most part, I believe, the support's going to outweigh that. But more importantly, by doing that, whether you're doing it to social media, if that's not your thing, but you can do it to a friend, to your pastor, to your sports circle, to your spouse, to your family, but do it to somebody besides yourself because you're putting it out there, which empowers your subconscious mind to start supporting you in the decisions that you have to make to get to those goals. And it's we always joke that, or not joke, but say that it takes a village to raise a child. And I also think it takes a village of support to do a major life change like you've been through, whether that's quitting smoking or for an alcoholic to stop drinking. Very similar psychology to break food habits and food addictions and change the pattern of your life radically in your case and almost instantaneously, and being consistent and not giving up or going backwards. I think having that support is, intensely valuable. So kudos to you. You may not have realized all that was happening, but it's been excited to see the level of support you're getting. And, we're fortunate, the state that we live in and in our community in Seminole, for the most part, is really good-hearted people. So, and we're going to support you on the way. Anything to add to that?
No, it's I'd encourage anybody to go out there. Not only the group fitness aspect of it is kind of warm up, and once you figure out that you're comfortable with the fact that you're showing up with a bunch of other people that have the same kind of similar, journey they're on, they're there to better themselves. You start realizing there's a lot of people out there that that feel the same way, but they're just not putting back, they're not putting the whole effort towards it. Be a light to that community and show up. And, and once people see that, hey, you're getting really good results. It's neat for me to motivate people to find their health, and that's something that I never thought I'd enjoy as much as, is knowing that somebody else decided that, from what I was already doing, it's exponentially changing lives when people are like, oh, well, if he could do it, I could do it. Well, you can do it. It's possible.
So 2 more questions for you and for our audience. Going from that A1C of 9.0 to 4.6, I know that's incredible. As a functional health coach, just phenomenal to do that in relatively a short amount of time, which illustrates what's possible when you get focused and have motivation. But outside of that, how's improving your metabolic health changed how you feel day to day? Like, how's it translated into your brain function, your relationship or your confidence with customers when you're pitching services, or as a husband, as a father? Where have you seen a tangible difference?
Well, I think the coolest part is I haven't noticed it that many times as much as I should, but I'm not tired. I'm never tired. When at the end of the day, after a workout, 5:30 workout, 6:30 on the way home. Yeah, I'm a little tired. 7:00 rolls around, 7:30 rolls around. I'm actually clearer than I have been in probably the last 25 years. My brain is working. Everything, it feels like everything's firing. I don't feel like I'm tired. I feel like I want to be more motivated to do more and more things. So, I'm doing more stuff around the house, more stuff, things that I wouldn't normally do. It's neat to be able to be a better example for my kids. They saw a lifestyle of mine that, if they follow that for 20 years, that it's going to affect them, so it doesn't mean that I have to change everything, for them, but, at the same time, I'm not bringing certain things into the house, and live by example, and I think that's been something that's been encouraging me, I want them to be healthier. I want them to choose a longer term, even though they're young. I still want them to see the benefits of what I'm going through, and the ability for my brain to actually like stay on task, to keep memories seems better. These are things I didn't know I had issues with, but man, it does feel different. And the difference is the nutrition and the working out. My body's running on real good fuel, and it's like, you wouldn't not understand that if you put crappy fuel in your car and your car runs crappy, then, that makes sense. But, here we are throwing in processed foods that are almost no nutrition for the same price as what you could be paying for something that would be good nutrition. And we're wondering why we're not getting the benefits out of it. So that education process for me is priceless, paying attention to all the little things that we can make choices every single day that would amplify our ability to get anywhere we wanted to in our health. But took me a while, but here I am.
I think and I can speak from my own personal experience, and maybe you can relate to this too, is that for me, it was like optimizing nutrients and micronutrients and hormones right before my 50th birthday. And you don't realize it when you're in it, but I could say on the other side of it, when I fixed all that, I look back and I was like, man, I was running on 4-cylinder engine, and now I feel like I have a turbocharged V8. I have more energy for my wife, my kids, my business. The amount of tasks mentally I can complete in a day is probably 5x more than before. And just all those little things add up to a better quality of life. And but oftentimes we don't realize it because it's a slow sinking ship, and you don't realize it day to day. But when you're on the other side of it, looking back, it's such a big difference. I mean, and a lot of people don't even realize that. I see just how you move. You're moving faster, moving from getting in, getting out. Just so many little efficiencies throughout the day that you get more done in less time because you're more productive. Your brain's working, your body's working, your sleep's probably way better. Quality which also helps. So it's the little things. And I do also commend you because if you're a spouse or a parent, I always tell people, because I had to learn this, actually learned it from Charles Palinquin, who's a PhD, and the guru with the Palinquin principles. He says you can't coach your spouse, you can't coach your family, but we can be a role model. The best way we can teach them is by example. And it may not lead to change right now, but you're planting seeds in that person's mind for those to start taking root and growing in their own life, in their own decision-making down the road. So you're doing that not just for your family, but for all the people that follow you on social media, the people in Seminole happenings that you see at the meetups every month that we do. Everybody's just like, man, I want to be like Matt, like be like Mike. We want to be like Matt.
I think I'm disappearing, but I'm not disappearing. My muscles keep me there. Now it's gone from you're disappearing to what are you going to be? All you do is work out all day. And I'm like, no, just 3 days a week. Yeah. 3 hours a week. It's not even that big of a deal, but it's apparent. You can see it. You can see, it's results that continue to motivate me.
Yeah. And it's just been fun to watch and be a part of your process. And I know you still have the next set of goals. You can argue now you are healthy, and now it's just a matter of one thing I want you to share with the change on that last question was like, what's it like to go shopping now for clothes?
it's easy. Like all I got to do is walk in any store, and I was buying 5X shirts before, which means that I had to go to
X.
a big and
Where do you
tall
find
store, and
those?
I'm not that tall, so they
Yeah.
always looked bad on me. And just yesterday, I ended up going out there and grabbing. I grabbed 7 new extra large shirts because extra
What are you
large
wearing
is
right now?
extra large. Yeah,
Nice. It looks
the
good.
extra large. It fits. And that it just
Yeah.
blows my mind that that's a you know if I can continue to gain more muscle, even if I lose another 20 pounds in fat, the extra large should continue to fit me. So I kind of feel like I've arrived at a place where I can either wear a large or an extra large shirt these days, and I'm not wasting money changing my wardrobe by buying other sizes. But I went from 5X, and then I skipped 4X and went down to 3X. And I was like, okay, well, this is pretty neat. I'm a 3X, and within it seemed like a month, I was in 2X. And it was like, okay, well, the 2Xs are getting loose on me. And now it's like, okay, well, I put a 1X on, and now I can see my body. I can see the love handles are gone. I can see the back fat's gone. I can see the visceral fat changes of this diet plan have been insane. Like they have just, I went from a size 54 shorts that were tight, and I'm sitting here wearing size 36s.
Mm.
36s. It
Yeah.
just doesn't,
I feel
it doesn't
amazing.
compute. Yeah, the 36s right now are just a little bit tight. I went from 38s, and these are a little tight on me, but this is it's amazing. Like it just
Yeah.
all you got to do is put all your efforts towards it. Find the professionals that can give you that plan, and man, like
Mm.
just show up.
Yeah, that's a great lead into the final question I have for you. And I often ask this for clients that have been successful in their journeys. And it's this question for someone listening who feels stuck, overwhelmed, confused, they don't know where to start. What's one piece of advice you give them so that they take that first step?
Make a choice. Decide you're going to go into it, and then as soon as you
Decide.
make that choice, go find the right people that can make your choice as beneficial to your health as possible. So it's just I keep on telling people the switch flipped, and as soon as it flipped, it was I'm that type of person though. I'm all in or I'm all out. So when I went in all in, and I'm so analytical and data driven, paying attention to those wins, they kept coming faster. They kept coming better. But it was
Mhm.
because I was given the right information because I didn't know anything about insulin. I didn't know anything about glucose. I didn't know anything about, what my metabolism was really doing to go against my efforts. So in the past, every single time I've lost weight or every time that I've put effort into it, it was terrible. Like I couldn't stand it. I was working against myself back then because I didn't have the advice. I didn't have the actual functional background of understanding how the body worked. And I tried things that I heard. This is different. I actually follow the plan. So if you make that decision to just do what you need to do to get your health back, then find the right people to give you
Yeah.
the roadmap. And then all you got to do is show up and follow it. And it works.
So I will sum that up. Decide and get help, get support, get coaching.
Yep.
So what an incredible journey. And, Matthew's journey down 116 pounds, down from an A1C of 9.0 to 4.6, bringing his blood sugar down, bringing his health up, bringing his shirt size from a 5X to a XL, is living
Yep.
proof that transformation is possible, even when you're a business owner, even when you have 6 kids. Am I
Got
right?
6 of them. Yep.
6, a
Yep.
wife, all the things that can be distractors and competing for our times. But when you commit to the process, when you decide and have a plan to follow, amazing things are possible. So we hope, Matthew and I both hope you picked up some practical tools some inspiration. I know Matthew is willing to do this show with me because we hope to inspire others, so you can apply that to your own life, decide, get some help, and see how far you can go to getting healthy. But make sure you take that first step. So if you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe to TrYumph Nation TV, and we have a playlist called the Fat2Fit Show. You can check out the other episodes, and we'll be following Matthew along all the way out to a year and beyond. I thought, honestly, when we started this, I thought it would take a year to get to where you're already at, over crossing that 100-pound point, which you're at 116. So don't miss our future conversations, and we'll be profiling some other people that have also had success on their journeys here at TrYumph and also beyond our walls. And if you did get some inspiration, share this episode. Maybe you can pay it forward and change somebody else's life. And if you've had a journey yourself and would like to be featured on this show, we'd love to share that with the world. But we thank you for listening. Any last words, Matthew?
No, just do it. Get her done.
Get her done. Yes.
Get her done.
Make the choice. Life's too short, but we are in control of most decisions that we make. So we hope this inspired you. Here's to your health, your strength, and your success. God bless everybody. Thanks again, Matthew, for being on the show. And we'll catch y'all next time on the Fat2Fit Show. I'm Coach Matt O'Brien, founder of TrYumph Fitness. We'd love to be a service to you if you're in the local area or beyond. Make sure you reach out to us. We'll catch you next time.